What's up everyone, I'm Twisted. You guys really liked the video where I discussed how 3 different characters from Legends of Runeterra could be adapted to League PC or Wild Rift, so here's another video going over 3 more characters. Like before, I tried to pick characters that could bring something unique, be it in terms of visual design, thematic, gameplay or lore. And also like before, I'm not going over all of their abilities, just roles, classes and general playstyle. But feel free to come up with full kits for these characters down below.
I follow the Freljord's true leader.
Let's start with the Draklorn Inquisitor. Draklorn Inquisitor is one of those LoR characters that we really don't know much about, but there's a couple things we can infer from its name, art and voice lines. First, he's a member of the Frostguard, one of the 3 major tribes of the Freljord. Just like the Averrosans and the Winter's Claw, the Frostguard are represented in League by their leader, Lissandra. But unlike the other tribes, there's only one member of the Frostguard in the game, so we are due for a brand new one. This one here is a Draklorn. The Draklorn are Frost priests who serve Lissandra. They're amongst the most devout of her followers, cruel and brutal in their service to the cult of the 3 sisters. Lissandra is usually seen as a villain from the perspective of most Freljordian champions, so having one that worships her would be a nice contrast.
Come, my warrior, show me your worth.
I live and die for you alone, my lady.
As we can see in their artwork, they wield a very unique weapon. The wiki says this is an Ikakalaka, but these seem to be much bigger in terms of length and have a shorter blade. With this being said, we have seen Frostguard members wield something closer to that in other media, so maybe this is just a shorter version of that type of weapon. Regardless, there's nothing like it in League. We can also assume they are an Iceborn, since their weapon seems to be imbued with true ice. Iceborn are special individuals, they're stronger than normal mortals, and they're born with the ability to wield true ice and channel ice magic. We have a bunch of them already in the game, but being a follower of Lissandra and the priest from the Freljord also opens the door for the Inquisitor to wield other types of magic. In the Ash comic we see a Draklorn use some kind of dark magic, which I can only assume is tied to Lissandra's dark eyes. This would certainly give the Inquisitor's abilities a unique visual identity, even amongst other Iceborn in the game. I can also mention that it's been a while since we got an Iceborn in League, with the last one being Braum in 2014. And since then we've gotten a Yordle, a Spirit God and a Vastaya. So it's also been a while since we've gotten a new human Freljordian. I imagine him as a magic bruiser, not far from Mordekaiser, firing up close with his weapon and having abilities where he utilizes his ice magic to disrupt enemies. We've also seen ice priests being able to heal people, so giving him some kind of sustain or even allowing him to give some kind of buff to himself or allies would make sense. In LoR, the Inquisitor exists to speed up Lissandra's game plan of summoning frozen trolls. This isn't really something we can translate into League, at least not directly. But for example, we could make him a jungler that is able to command the camps. Instead of him killing a camp, he could place a mark on them, similar to Ivern's passive, and then, after some time, the camp becomes his troll and is able to command it like a normal pet. If the mark is too much, we can also just allow him to gain a troll by killing the camp. With this idea, we could even bring back Mordekaiser's old dragon passive. That would probably be broken, but damn, wouldn't it be fun? Here are some items I think would be good on him. Again, I'm not coming up with actual abilities, so take this part with a grain of salt. Like I said, I imagine him as an AP bruiser, mostly because of his weapon and his ice powers. And for fun, here are some skin lines I think could work on him. First is Old God. In this universe, Lissandra is a witch that worships the god known as the Ivory Stag. I think it would be cool if the Inquisitor was this god, essentially inverting the relationship they have in canon. Here it would be her worshipping him, but we could also just turn him into one of her trolls in this universe, with a design similar to the ones we see in her skin in LoR. Next is Ainun. Being a member of a religious cult is already part of the Inquisitor's fantasy, so turning him into a Wild West devil or a cowboy angel wouldn't be hard. Perhaps we can even introduce a new faction to this world, one led by a Wild West witch. And finally, why not Dragon Slayer? I think the silhouette of the Inquisitor's helmet could easily be transformed into some kind of armor forged from the remains of a dragon. And this would also fit really well with his ability to command the dragon after killing it.
God be king without breaking a few bounds.
The next character is Jack. Jack was the champion boxer of the King's Court. Yes, there's a whole boxing scene inside a boat, that's Bilgewater for you. One day he made a deal with Tahm Kench. We don't know the details of this deal, but we know that now Jack runs the ship. Fishman, boxing champion, crime boss and captain, Jack is all that. He was first just an in-game follower of Tahm Kench, but later also became a champion in LoR. We even saw him traveling to Ionia just to face Seth in his arena. I really like Jack, but I'm not gonna lie, I had a really hard time figuring out something unique that he could bring to League. Fish people, we have those. Gamblers or champions with gold mechanics, yep, we got that as well. Pit fighters, we got that too. Boxers, I mean kinda yeah. Crime bosses, well, there's Renata. Champions with a bigger, beefed up version? Yeah, we got a lot of those already. I guess we don't technically have a champion that does all of these things, and that could be Jack, but I think Riot would need to push some of these aspects further in order to truly make him stand out. For example, the boxing style. We do have champions who take inspiration from boxing, but none that really embrace this fighting style. Jack's kit, however, could revolve around boxing moves and techniques, or at least how they are portrayed in media. For example, fighting games love to give their boxers a dash that can be followed by certain moves. Dodging and weaving is a core part of boxing, so Jack could have a dash that changes his abilities in some way. Think of how Samira's Q is different when used during her dash. So if one of Jax's abilities is a straightforward punch, this could change to an uppercut if he used it right after dashing. I think it would also be cool to play onto the whole betting aspect of his character. Maybe you could mark an enemy betting some of your gold. If you win, you get extra gold from the takedown, but if you die, you lose the gold you bet. I'm sure there's a way to make this actually balanced, or perhaps an even better way of exploring this, but you get the idea. His gameplay in LoR revolves around surviving damage and making money, which fit the underground boxer and crime boss vibes perfectly. So League would have to explore this in some way. He signed a contract with Tahm Kench, he has a magical boat and seems to have some magical abilities as well. But I don't really think we should lean into this aspect of his character. If we really wanted, we could say that his magic is the reason for him to have sustain in game, but that's about it. His magic could also be the explanation behind his beefed up form, which should be either a passive or an ultimate. Jack is one of those characters that is really simple, but also really cool at the same time. I know a lot of top laners would love to have him in the game. His gameplay doesn't need to be super complicated, it really just needs to be different enough from set, to be honest. I'm not sure if he should be AD or AP, I can see it going either way. Maybe AP would be cooler since we don't have many AP brawlers. I can see him being similar to Shyvana or Volibear, having a great emphasis on auto attacks, but also dealing a lot of magic damage. For skins, I think Jack could work really well in Odyssey. Just make him look more like an alien and less like a shark. While some of the human champions do look great in this skin line, I think it's always more fun seeing how the more monstrous champions are adapted to it. Highway Heretics, the Mad Max inspired skin line, would also fit Jack so well. Just look at him. Would he not look great as a Mad Max villain? We wouldn't even need to change his lore much. His boat could be some kind of giant vehicle, and instead of a boxing ring, it would be a post-apocalyptic fighting pit. I think arcade would also make a lot of sense. I'm surprised we still don't have any arcade skins inspired by fighting games, at least not in League PC or Wild Rift. Punch-Out could also be a cool inspiration here. Jack isn't too far off from King Hippo.
Try to understand. I matter, you don't.
And last but not least, we have Ophelia Noradi. Ophelia is the daughter of Ferris Noradi, the leader of the Grey Legion, which you might know as being the ones responsible for bringing soldiers back from the dead using emomancy. Ophelia, however, is mostly just a young member of the Crimson Circle, Vladimir's secret club of emomancers, one that might or not be helping him cut ties from the Black Rose. She's an Oxian noble, you know, the rich, cocky snob type, not really a type of character I enjoy, but we don't really have many like this in League. The closest we have is Kiana, but with her being from Ishtal, she doesn't really embody the young, rich, brat aristocrat as much as Ophelia. When Briar was teased, a lot of folks were expecting a character like Ophelia to come to League, so I know for sure that there would be an audience for her. Besides this, we also don't have many champions that really use blood magic. We have Vladimir, of course, and sure we do have Cyan, Briar and the Darkin, but none really use emomancy the same way Vladimir does. In game, their blood magic is mostly just flavor. Ophelia, on the other hand, could actually wield blood like Vladimir. How she would differ from him, I'm not sure. She's younger and less experienced, and she also didn't steal the powers of a Darkin, so I don't expect her to be as explosive as Vlad or transform her whole body into blood either. Maybe instead she could use blood like power from Chainsaw Man, shaping it into various weapons. That could be an interesting way to explore her powers, maybe allowing her to adapt to various situations by changing into different weapons mid-fight. But I'm not sure if that really fits her vibe. She doesn't seem the type to really get her hands dirty, so maybe just shaping blood into various projectiles makes more sense. I can also see her having a charm. I think that fits her very well, and of course thematically she would be doing it with blood magic. Having more queer characters in League is always nice, and let's just say that the young members of the circle are quite close. Overall, I think Ophelia brings a certain aesthetic and type of character that we don't really have in League, and I'd love to see another character actually wielding blood magic. Her story being connected to Vladimir and with the Grey Legion, also gives the opportunity to dive deeper into this part of the lore of Noxus, which hasn't been explored much. Because we don't see her using much of her powers, it's hard to give her a lane and role. Her effect in LoR does fit the support role, but when it comes to being a support champion and a Hemomancer, I think Zolani is a much better fit. So for Ophelia, I'm going to say ADC, just to give her a different lane from Vladimir, but I admit she does also have the vibes of a mid laner. Let's make her hybrid, kinda like Katarina or Kai'Sa, being able to lean more towards AP or AD depending on the match. When it comes to skins, I think it's really easy but also really hard at the same time to come up with ideas for her. Her design is quite simple, so she could fit into many skin lines, and thus the hard part is picking which ones. I have to mention Battle Academy because she could be seen in the background of Ezreal's artwork in LoR. I also think it fits her well enough. Rich snob student is also a trope after all, and obviously there's Coven. I feel like the people who enjoy the type of character that Ophelia is also enjoy the Coven thematic, and I can't deny that she would fit really well in this universe. Maybe we could take the idea of the Crimson Circle betraying the Rose and recontextualize it as a new faction forming within the Coven, one that seeks to cut ties with it. I asked you what other skin lines would work well for her, and here are some of your replies. The skin line mentioned the most was Fairy Court, which makes sense. To me this is the Wings skin line, and she could easily pass as a villain from a 2000s show for young girls. Bewitching was also mentioned a lot, and I also think it's a great choice. I don't have much to say here, it's really just a fun skin line. Some comments also mention Battle Queens, not a skin line Riot has explored much, but the people who like it really like it. And of course the young aristocrat would easily fit well here. The same goes for Broken Covenant, definitely a skin line that should come back eventually. I can easily see her as either an aspirant or as an ever guest. I don't really need to explain why Star Guardian makes sense, but I wouldn't also mind more Star Nemesis. People also mention Arcana, such a beautiful skin line. Honestly, any champion could get a skin from this line and look great in my opinion. Space Groove is a very fun idea, with her blood becoming the liquid of a lava vamp. Honestly, just figuring out ways to make blood work in other skin lines is fun onto itself. It could also be snow or ice magic in a winter skin, or it could be water in a deep sea or dark water skin. And shout out to this person who said she could be a chef obsessed with tomato sauce. That's really good. And here are some of your other suggestions. Let me know what other skin lines could work for Ophelia and the Inquisitor and Jack as well. This was really fun, so for the next video I'm actually going to ask you guys for skin ideas for all 3 champions. Speaking of which, if you don't want to miss that video, make sure you subscribe. It's free and you can always change your mind later. Let me know down below your thoughts on my ideas and feel free to share your own as well. I'm Twisted and I'll see you guys in the next video.